So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the online discussion for the movie Plus Minus 90, created by the Slovak film director Marek Kuboš, and this screening is organized by KineDok. KineDok is an alternative distribution platform for documents, and this year it celebrates 10th anniversary in Slovakia. I'm very happy that we have a chance to talk and reflect a little bit on this movie and maybe discuss documentaries in broader sense today with my two guests. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Milota Sidorová. I am not a movie maker nor a movie theorist, but I'm an urbanist, and I have big weakness for maybe art and things that are happening. And this brings me closer to maybe genre of a documentary. So I'm very happy that I will be having this chance to talk to two distinguished guests. First of all, we'll start with lady. First is Barbora Berezňáková, Slovak movie director and producer. Barbora has been working on TV documentaries, on web videos for various productions as director and editor. Barbora makes video installations, gallery screenings, music videos, and is experimenting with a new ways of storytelling and cross genres in documentary movies. Currently, she resides in Berlin, although she's like. And the second guest comes from the south of Europe, from Croatia. His name is Goran Dević. He's Croatian film director, screenwriter, and university professor. His filmography includes several documentaries and short movies, and he's also director and scriptwriter of one feature film, if I'm not mistaken, it's The Black, and it was nominated almost for Oscar, but it's very, very interesting psychological drama. So with those two guests, let's start discussion. And my first topic is neither of you is the movie director of this movie, but Barbora, you have been protagonist in this one. So let me start maybe with a brief reflection on the movie we have just seen. It's something like generational storytelling, and it seems like Marek Kuboš wanted to say something when he decided to put all the movie directors of a certain generation together and ask them about how are things. Okay, we've seen something on the movie, but I would like maybe Barbora comment from your side. How do you see it, because you were one of them? And then Goran, maybe if you saw it and you saw the Slovakian context and evolution of the documentary genre in Slovakia within the last 30 years, how are the reflections back maybe to Croatian context and your own country? Okay. Barbora?
Thank you for having me here. So the film with Marek Kuboš, be honest, I was when he asked me if I want to be in his film, and I felt like, oh my God, okay, I'm too young to be like reflected upon or like, you know, to reflect on a Slovak documentary scene, because as you know, I didn't study documentary film in Slovakia. I just started doing it, even though I lived abroad for a lot of the time. And yeah, my view when I was in there, I didn't know if the movie is ever going to be finished or something, but I really found it super sweet and cozy just to talk to a friend, professional friend, about our scenes and reflect on it. So I think I was very honest. I was very maybe even not very diplomatic on
Yes.
what I see, what I think. And yeah, I remember it was also it was, I think, after I premiered my feature and after I premiered my first of the Ask at Home trilogy. So it was very, very busy time, and you know, like it's very hard to reflect where is your position in the Slovak documentary scene from inside. You know, I was giving a lot of interviews. I was reflecting more on my personal life than on my professional life then, because professional life was just happening, and personal was like, I mean, I don't even know if there is such a distinction in my case between personal and professional, but I mean, these kind of movies I think are important within some time distance, because they reflect upon something what we lived and maybe didn't understand perfectly, you know. Still, it was time, I think, pretty much before pandemic, or like or just in the start, and like the world was in completely different state. I would say like a little bit more comfortable, a little bit less unpredictable. So it was very self-centered film, even from today's perspective, you know.
Before I pass the word to Goran, it's like you know, this Romanian philosopher Mircea Eliade once said it's very difficult to navigate yourself within the present time because there are so many inputs and you cannot distinguish what is clear. Like you said, now with reflecting back on the world before pandemic, you say it's very cozy time, you know, compared to what we live today. So do you think you can see in this movie something very like clear narrative, like something you would take away from like Slovakian documentaries or evolution, which the film communicates, like for yourself? Is there some clear narrative except of world is more cozy? World is more cozy.
To be honest, I felt like everybody, even if in documentary bubble, and everybody is living in their own bubble a little bit, because everybody sees their, even people who are very sensitive and observe the world with maybe in a bigger detail or from different way than people not dealing with so much with interpretation of reality. We are still very disconnected, and it's really like hard to communicate. If you really want to be precise and then you really want to agree with somebody on something and really want to come to some conclusion, is very hard if you don't want to stay in some superficial level. And I think with this time distance, we are living kind of more globally, we are living some kind of consequences of that.
Maybe this bubble was even, you know, impersonated by the fact you sat in the car, you know. It was perfect bubble for everything, you know. Anyways, so let's go to Goran, you know. So how about the movie, and what do you think of it?
First of all, it's a great movie, and I had the privilege to enjoy it. And I saw it today, and I would like to say a few things. Our positions, Slovakian and Croatian, are pretty same. We are small nations in European Union, and I think pretty often we as a persons and also as a collective are defensive against the Europe. We always think that Europe or even the whole world doesn't appreciate enough things that we shot, wrote, or paint, something like that. And the fact that amazed me today was that I didn't saw majority of the films that you consider Slovak classics, and I'm I'm very interested in documentaries. I watch it all you know, whole year, or festivals at home as a university teacher. So the main feelings that I have is what beautiful position we have, Slovaks and Croats, because we can do in our documentaries basically whatever we want today, because things that we produce are not they are not important anymore. So I think.
What do you mean?
So when my beloved Yugoslav or Croatian directors during the socialist period shot even short documentaries about some very tricky subject, it was a social event, you know, newspapers was all over the state react. Somebody was in jail because of the movie. And what happened today when I shot some subversive documentary? Nothing. I get money for next project, and nobody gives a fuck. I spoke with one of the best Israeli documentary director who shot several subversive towards the Israeli society films, and I asked him how your society treat you, and he said, I can screen it, but I got money for next project every time, and I'm on TV when I got a prize on big European festival. And that's basically our position in Croatia.
Don't you?
Nobody gives a fuck, but we shot film after film, and we are on TV when we got European award. So,
yeah, that's a pretty cynical or pragmatic point of view. It seems like when you were young, you were shooting movies with the aim to maybe bring some social justice or to change something. Now you are doing it because you want to win the next project. It's like you're doing it because there is some audience, but not to bring some social change. Isn't it a little bit like that?
I still want to change the world.
Okay.
Maybe,
yeah, but
maybe it means that I'm still young.
I'm not cynical. I just describe position that we have, and soon as we realize what kind of position it is, we can use it in the best possible way. To shoot very free and strong films. Because my personal thoughts are that our directors from 60s and 70s was more free than we are today. If you watch their and our film today, and they live in so-called totalitarian state, in hard socialist country, and we live in so-called free democracy. So it's
so
not
different.
as things look like on the surface. So for me, is the crucial thing is to realize your position, and this film that I saw helped me a lot to think about that subject.
Thank you. Let me reflect on what you said. You said like now nobody gives a shit about if we do movies. The time has changed compared maybe past 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And it seems like now information is everywhere and everybody has a voice due to social media. Everybody's producing enormous quantity of video materials. And that was one of my questions. Now influencers are creating their own documentaries on their own movies. Politicians are doing a lot of video content through Instagram, and they are documenting everything from their life, things that I don't want to know. So it seems like we are like maybe not exhausted by all this content, but it's too much. And suddenly somebody who is maybe trained as a movie director and does the script and does years of research and compiling content, the position is somehow unequal, because influencer just can't put the mobile phone and that's it. And he's even more popular maybe than you, who spend years and years doing something which is almost a craft. So the question for both of you, like, where is now the position of not document movies, but maybe your document movies, if you would be starting a project, for example, today? Whoever wants to.
We are starting projects like
yeah,
often now, like but I know what you mean when you like that this visual representation of reality really devalued because it's so available and anybody can do anything. But I think it's totally positive thing because it became more democratic, more available for people like to have different voice. Although I don't feel like I'm in a competition with any influencers, or I maybe don't care that much about it because we bring like different product, let's call it, or different value, like and that depends on like what concrete project is. And yes, of course, the now, since we are flooded with imagery and like entertainment in whatever form it takes, it is question more of a strategy, marketing approach. Whom do you want to talk to? Who is your audience? How aware are you of it? How aware? How are you willing to be aware of it, and like what do you actually want to do? And I think this was for me important from the beginning, even before social media became a thing, because yes, now like we can debate about this forever, because then that it's a question of like where do you stand as an author, what's your goal? Like, of course I'm my own audience in the first place, but I'm not. I spoke once exactly about this with Agnieszka Holland, and she was like, yeah, but like we are not autistic, like we have to communicate, and we do, like, because otherwise, you can do anything in your backyard. And there is this like old-fashioned idea of artists in their backyard, and they are so modest and they just do their work, but it's like really, really out of fashion, and that's really not how it is, and not like this kind of like modest crazy genius. I don't agree with that.
I will then ask you what is your value then with your next project. But Goran, what is your position as author? What is your value that you bring into this world full of information?
First of all, I think I'm as a director representative of the viewer. So always I can think about one who will be my personal doppelganger, or a few of them, or all of them. So privately, I'm fan of Beatles, and Beatles are for everybody. They are, elitistic, and they are deeply in the mainstream. So I would like that my product, also have this huge reach. Sometimes I have success, sometimes I fail, but my position is very simple. I shoot movies without money, and when I'm sure that I have something, then I enjoy this European or Croatian system for financing, which I considered very violent to the filmmakers.
In what way?
In a way that they, make things slow, and ask of me to work half of my time as a clerk, not as a artist. So American artists work as a waiter, and the European artists work as a
bureaucrat.
Yeah, as a bureaucrat of our NGO,
But you say it always starts with your impulse, like as author. So now coming back to Barbara, what are the things that you are working on now? Because clearly you are there as a representative of young generation. You live in very different world than those guests were living in. So what is something that is very, very urgent, and what is the value of it that you want to say now?
So I know this is a documentary meeting and platform, but due to my personal life changes and also some things I realized during making my documentary projects, I'm working on fiction now. I'm working on a fiction series and a feature film, and the fiction series is about searching for the truth amidst the clash of opinions. And of course, it's a comedy because it's a little bit like a comedy, and it was a very deliberate decision, because I realized, okay, I was making this very kind of like thoughtful, intellectual documentary films, and even when I had screenings, Q&As, and I was talking to actually my audience who came to see my film, I felt a little bit arrogant that I want to come closer to the audience. I want to come closer to the people who want to watch something, because okay, I really don't want to be in this preachy position, which I tend to be, but I want to bring comedy and entertainment, but use it as a Trojan horse for a social commentary. So that's what I'm kind of doing now with this series, which are at the beginning of development and pre-production at the moment.
So you have two things. First, you are making fiction. So then you are like, and you say about who is, right, and where do we live in informational, hybrid wars and, like world of conspiracies. That is one. So you somehow resign on the documentaries. You want to create your own narrative. That's one thing you're telling me. And the second is
even with documentary, you are creating your own narrative. It's always your own narrative, like, like. But yes, my fictional series is dealing with objectivity and objective truth and how much individual truth can be valid for others, and like.
And the second, what I want to say, like you are using this attribute of comedy or humor, and humor has this fiction psychological feature that it can make very heavy things, like easy.
Bearable.
Although it doesn't solve the problem, it will help you to deal with maybe problem that you don't, totally go nuts. Like humor is here to help us to survive, I would say. So is this use or choosing the comedy deliberate tool for expressing this feeling about the world today?
Absolutely. I mean, we live in super complicated times, and even dangerous times, I would say, scary times for me, definitely. And it's not like I'm saying I don't want to resign on a content or on some kind of reflection or social commentary, as I said, but I feel like we need to make it lighter, to make it bearable, and to make it approachable to people, because everybody wants to laugh. And maybe that's also like a common ground for people with very different opinions, politically, or different problems, different backgrounds.
Yeah, you made a point. Goran, how about you? What about your
I'm working on my next fiction, and I'm in the middle of the shooting of 2 documentaries, and one I will start to shoot very soon. And I have a movie which is already shot, that traveled on festivals and will be screened on BBC this month or next month, I don't know.
And what is the approach? Because Barbara mentioned that she's using her own fiction narrative, and then she's using this comedy or humor to say something very, difficult. Are you having certain kind of disguise, or like a directorial approach to storytelling?
Yes, I agree with any word that Barbara said before me. This film that I just finished is the documentary comedy. I shepherded my mother-in-law to the first Croatian vaccination place when COVID vaccine arrived in Croatia, because she was very afraid of a big space with a lot of people. But after 5 minutes, I realized that my presence was unnecessary, because she started very instant friendship with the people waiting in a line. And listen of them, I realized that is the best documentary that I ever saw. And I came tomorrow with my camera, get permission, and just mingle with the people as a private person. And when I find some interesting people who communicating during the waiting in a line, I just introduced myself and asked them to put the mic, and I said, you will not see us next hour, we will be 20 meters from you. And after 10 days we start to shoot cleaning ladies, doctors, security guys, emergency crews, and we got one very nasty picture of our society today. Even the part who chose to came to vaccination place, what is with the rest of the society, you can you can just imagine. It's very funny and very serious film.
Yeah, and it's very
And we shot it in 60 days without the budget, unlike films like that. But we edited 2 years after that.
Okay, so then you have to counterbalance. We'll come to the money talk maybe by the end, because you can do movies without money up to certain extent, but then again you have to pay your bills, so you have to have something to sell the audience. Anyways, I wanted to ask because it seems like globally that I was looking at this like statistic of movie genres through the 20th century, and it seemed while, for example, mid-century 50s 60s were very favorable for westerns and romantic comedies and things like that. From 2000 it goes towards popularity of the genres goes towards the horrors, psychological thrillers, and documentaries. So it seems to me like the world consciousness, with what people choose to do or what people choose to see, is like we are getting darker, and heavier. On one hand, we have this fiction of horrors, and on the other hand, we are more interested maybe in reality, the documentaries. How do you read this? And there was one line in the movie when one of these guests said, like, the director of the fiction or feature movie is hierarchically, on a higher position than the document director. Would you agree with that? That the fiction director is somehow more valued and appreciated in society than the documentary director?
Well, yeah, you go.
Whoever wants to go.
Yes, Barbara.
You are both are doing both. So how do you see it?
There is more money in fiction, and I'm not sure if there is more demand or whatever, but wherever there is more money, there is more men, and it's more highly appreciated. It's very simple.
Okay. Goran?
Obviously, it's more money in fiction than in documentary. When I was a kid, I considered film as a fiction, not as a documentary. And when I got the money for a first fiction, I didn't leave my apartment for 10 days because I expect that I will be hurt in a traffic, or something will fall on my head, because it was for me impossible that I will shoot a fiction film. And documentaries I start to like on Academy of Dramatic Art as a student, because I didn't have any fear of documentaries, and I started to enjoy this opportunity to participate in different spaces, different lives.
So
I enter different realities through documentaries that I would never enter as a private person. So today I'm much more interested in documentary than in fiction, because fiction is a lot of work, a lot of fear, a lot of conflicts. I must have in the beginning something that will,
you awarded money.
Encourage me to enjoy that suffering for 5 years of working on fiction. So,
okay. But you also say that documentaries were a little bit more approachable for you as a student. So you didn't have to do this hard preparation for fiction. You just merge, like into documentaries naturally, and then it started to be very interesting for you. So
yeah, I was basically very happy that my first short documentary, won 20 awards, and travel a lot, and we shot it in few days with €100 budget.
yeah.
So who will not repeat that?
Well, it's called beginner's luck, or or maybe
I notice that people in my hometown speak about birds with the same hate language as they speak about Serbs during the war.
okay.
So we make some kind of documentary parable,
Yeah.
shooting one thing and thinking about something else, and it's basically also comedy.
Okay, so we are again back to themes and topics. And Barbara, you mentioned something very, I think, provocatively, where there is more money, there are more men and more, competition. Okay, I tend to agree with that, and I'm also feminist. And if I can share, we both, Barbara, are mothers of very young children, and I want to have this question because I think this is very fine opportunity to discuss things like privately, because it's part of your professional, eye. And I must share that when I became pregnant and I started to be very sensitive towards violence. So I couldn't hear about Ukrainian war, although I'm very to support Ukrainians. I couldn't see any movie where they were shooting people, shooting animals, shooting children, like any kind of, injustice became heavily, it was basically stealing my nerves and my sleep. So I somehow my body was saying, go into different topics, go back to yourself, go back to your baby. This is really more important than, all this heavy stuff, which was on Netflix, because I had a lot of time to watch all the series. And I somehow realized I cannot watch them anymore because they're too heavy. Now when I have a child, the feeling continues, and it even makes me, like think about vegetarianism, because I cannot bear the, like thinking of injustice and violence towards any human being. And I know this is maybe hormonal thing or maybe something that mothers share, but it definitely changes my views on politics, on lifestyle. And I want to ask this question, Barbara, you are mother. How does this motherhood and everything maybe that I went through, do you have it as well? Would it change your movie making right now towards maybe more different angle than it was before?
Yeah, first of all, yes, I totally understand what you mean, and I feel like how can we will never know if it happens to men as well. I think maybe to a certain extent to fathers, maybe to a certain extent, yes, but it's absolutely for me like groundbreaking change of a view of the world and the possibility to empathize with others.
Mhm.
And I feel like, okay, maybe not everybody has to become parent, not everybody has to have a child, but if this understanding of the world could be injected into other people, we would live in a completely different world.
Yeah, I want to applaud you for this, but
This kind of sensitivity and this kind of also it's such a complex and very heavy and very important topic to acknowledge, because also the concept of motherhood is changing now, and it was perceived as something like super like obvious and natural and like everybody does that and that's it, and but there it's such a layered and such a complex human experience that I feel like this it's not spoken about, when we speak about motherhood or about like parenthood, we talk about how to care for a child, and of course it brings all this like very little, very like obvious and very kind of banal reality into discussion. But I think this empathy and this feminism, I think this should be the core of feminism, to relate to vulnerability of others.
And
no matter for what reason they are there, but they are there.
So
yeah,
you somehow use it for your projects or
well, I don't know if I think it's almost impossible not to use it once you have that. Yes, but and like I feel like watching ability of watching a violence or like it's just one part of it, and of course like now, like, I cannot stand children suffering, or children combined with poverty. Children, like, I cannot stand it even more. I could not have stand it also before, but now it's even more radical and even more really horrible for me. And I do feel like it even, like, it even, and I had this problem before that, okay, I'm artist, I'm reflective person, but sometimes I really feel like, okay, I want to be activist. I really want to have like more power, more impact. Should I become a politician? I was asking myself once this, but I mean, but like, as we know, private is political, so I feel like my position of power, of impact, is somewhere else for now. But yeah, sorry, this is such a complex and big topic that I feel like I could talk about it forever from different angles.
Well, maybe we should. So maybe that's the message to organize. Let's talk about the motherhood and the vision of the world. But for me, it was like
feminism, I would say. I would say
Yeah.
that it's more feminism, because motherhood is very easily put in this box of like experience of women,
And exactly because of this, I don't want to give this question only to you, but maybe to Goran. I don't know if you have children, or if you can relate to somehow what two of us are discussing right now. This, suffering, violence, and change of view, and maybe bringing more sympathy and sensitivity to the world.
Yeah, I agree totally. I even shot as a male director 2 feminist movies. One is a war movie, which is a night movie, any shot during the day, and any man shot, only women.
What was different then?
Because the war is a man playground, and women basically suffered very directly from the results of this game. So I shot movie about diary of one girl that my state killed in the middle of my hometown during the war, because of the fact that she fell in love in a foreign soldier, with the enemy soldier. So they shot her with a sniper shot in the middle of town. And I got the diary of this girl, and I find the girls that have a similar year that this late girl will have, in a case that she survived the war. And we talk about this diary. And the second is film that I shot about toxic masculinity in Zagreb. I find a guy who teach other guys how to approach a woman, and they teach very horrible things, and they even do it in practice, because they attack on women in the streets, and it's very aggressive towards the men's and females in reality. So I think that reality in which all of us live is complex, and every little step forward it's important.
Yes.
Politically, on feminist level, on any other fields.
Okay, we could go into details, but then again, we would maybe have to show these movies. They look very interesting, with heavy plot. But maybe let's go almost towards the end of this discussion. What I take from this discussion is that, okay, we live in the world where, I say, information is everywhere. Everybody has a voice. Documentaries, document movie makers, they always have this authorship position, and maybe they use different tactics how to stay relevant for the audience or for themselves. But what I hear is that from Barbara, you would maybe approach more sensitivity and sympathy for the movies, and more maybe humor to tell the truth, or to tell the truth as you see it. And I want to maybe do this arc, because the world we live in today, you say it's scary, okay? When you follow all the information, it may look like, you know, Donald Trump is a re-elected president and nobody thought it would ever happen, you know. Slowly we are, you know, living in countries where we are victims of Russian infiltration and disinformation, and we can clearly name it this way. And we also in Europe tend to have more far-right governments, and far-righters are very big fan of censorship. And it seems like in Slovakia we have far-right Minister of Culture, which is successfully destroying all the funds and exactly destroying funds also for movie making. So coming back to the maybe a movie of Marek Kuboš, it seems like his generation 90 was the lucky one because it was raised in communism, but when they became like, you know, like adults and they could do their own movies, suddenly they were free to say to anything. They only had to fundraise the money because suddenly they were in democracy. And they were like this for 30 years. And now the new generation is maybe coming to very different world where again somehow the freedom has been, you know, curbed, closed, and it starts with cutting the funds. So you maybe have to raise your funds for your movie somewhere else than with the state. So this is a situation currently in Slovakia. Maybe I would like Barbara to reflect on this. How do you see it? How do you see position of maybe a document movie makers in the future? And Goran, if you can reflect on this, because as you said, Croatian context is also very similar to Slovakian one.
Well, when Goran was speaking about now we can shoot anything and like we get funding for the next project and something, I was like you enjoy while it lasts, because I mean now is the first year when the Ministry of Culture overtook the funding schemes for film, so we will see how it's going to be running. I think this fall it's going to show very soon. But nobody's very optimistic. So I would like I have my approach how to deal with this, and it's like just doing the good work and be very professional and be very, very like go as far as you can, and then when you can't, then you have to find ways. And like it's always specific about the project, but in general, I don't think that art and freedom of speech can be killed. It can be very, very restricted, but I still believe that people see it, and people maybe I'm very much afraid that it will take some big event, maybe a war, maybe something, and it goes somehow in like reactionary, you know, then the next generation reacts to that, then the next generation reacts to that, and we have been in a peace and a very comfortable life for quite a while. And also I think a situation in the East is kind of specific, because after fall of communism there was a lot of hope, which my films were also about. And so now there is, after this hope came time of disillusion, you know, by default.
Yeah.
By default, but also given all the mistakes we made, or like our governments or people in general, because governments are only as good as the people in the country are. So that is very, very specific and very inconvenient situation where we are now. But for me, what I was thinking about, of course, there is this like very, very strongly defined some progressive and, let's say, conservative or even I would say regressive part of society, or like, but it's very simplified, right? Like there is like many different bubbles within those two streams of certain consciousness. But now the hype is about them, which is also a little bit like fueled by media, by conspiracies, to deepen this, because the more people are divided, the better for people with power, right? But for me, the problem I came towards in my thinking, and I also started to write a fiction script about it, is And actually, I think one Russian dissident, Vysotsky, has this song about the truth and the lie. Having a, you know this, Goran? You know this song?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I feel like, okay, what can, like, if you want to keep on the right side of things, you still have some like moral bindings, what you do, how you don't cross certain borders, certain you don't take some tools of fight against your enemy because it's just immoral. But if you are on this other side, then it's like for this group of people, they don't have such a strong boundaries, they don't have such a strong moral standards, moral incentives not to use these like fake news or like aggressive campaigns, lies. You know, it has millions of strategies. So my question is that the truth kind of is in a big disadvantage, and what can we do with this?
Okay, Goran.
I think 8 years ago, Croatia got most right-wing oriented government ever. The Minister of Culture was real fascist. It's not a metaphor. He really adored the fascists from the Second World War. And during the campaign, Croatian film was a big subject in Croatian political space. We are not important anyhow. Nobody buy the tickets for our films in theaters. You know, we are unimportant like contemporary artists or experimental musicians, something like that. But during that particular campaign, we was the main subject as a traitors, as a communist, as a extreme leftists, some shit like that. And they came to power, and it was, I think, greatest thing that happened to us. For 1 year nobody gets anything for their movies, which is not bad at all, to slow a little bit. But the stupidness of us in film community realized that making a film is not a apolitical thing. It was never apolitical. During the Hitler's time, directors shoot movies about Helga and Hans who climbed on the top of the hill, and they, saw in the distance, and they, it was nothing fascistic in that kind of movie, but escapism as such can cover some things in reality that are for covering. Milosevic's propaganda during the last Balkan War was also not sophisticated. The singers, 2 meter high, beautiful singers, and some pop music with Turkish sound, something like that. And the fight that we was forced to fight was good, because today everybody is ready to fight for right to make movies, to speak freely about this and that. So even privately, I was a little bit, as director those days, old and slow. I immediately start to shoot 3 movies without the budget. Just confront the situations in which somebody don't want.
So it triggered somehow action response for you. The extreme situation.
But it's not only my personal response, was response of any single person in film community.
Yeah.
Everybody know today that things can be stopped, like in Slovakia today, or in Hungary yesterday. And what was also funny, that right-wing oriented guys who attack Croatian film was pro-Russian 100%. They're Putin's toys in the Balkans. They run on the Putin's money.
But eventually it ended, so you don't have such a toxic government anymore.
We have right now decent right-wing government. so they let us to do whatever we want.
Okay, it
Nobody
seems
gets
like your
advice.
words are bringing a little bit of hope, but I was just thinking, why do we have to learn certain lessons as society in a hard and drastic ways? You know, I would live my life of peace and stability and prosperity without these lessons, but I will leave open ending to what both of you said, because it deeply resonates with me, and I think it's an invitation for all our audience to reflect, because no movie is apolitical every time you are political. But if you want to say share some few last words, please do, and we are
I would like to apologize to audience that I spoke too much about my films, but on English I have some kind of fear of talking. So talking about my own films is easy escape to safe zone. So please don't judge me because of that.
well, eventually we got there. Barbara, is something that you would like to share with us?
No, I just feel like let's not give up, no?
Yeah.
Let's not.
Exactly. So let's not give up. Thank you both for sharing your ideas, and like three of us met accidentally together and we created somehow decent discussion. Dear audience, I would like to invite you to see the movie Plus Minus 90. It will be accessible on online platform until November 19, as you saw on the slide. And please stay fans of KineDok and support your next document movie. If you don't find it supported by state, please share some money and support independent movie making, because it's a way how to maybe keep society stable through the next years. So thank you very much, and I wish you all a great day.
Thank you. Bye.